All right. Okay, great. We're all good. Well, hi, Josephine. How are you?
Hi, Leah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, great. Shall we? Well, actually, I have a question for you because did you come into the NFT space quite recently? Because I saw on your Twitter profile that you kind of started your NFT journey maybe in September. Was that right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And how have you found it?
Well, I started with DeFi actually in crypto about a year ago, and from crypto I started getting to know the NFT space, and at first it was like kind of quite abstract because you first don't really understand the concept of NFT and why sometimes people pay so much money for an NFT. But of course, then I started, just educating myself, reading a lot, following a lot of blogs, watching YouTube videos. And I was always trying to combine it with with two things I'm passionate about, which is filmmaking and empowering women. And so that's how I started to get into the NFT space. And so first I just minted some film stills from my films. And then, as I started learning, then I minted video NFTs. Now I'm minting some illustrations of female filmmakers in order to be able to, empower more women and yes, and bring more female filmmakers, not necessarily into the NFT space, but of course as well, but into the film industry first, because we're so few women and that needs to change urgently. And so I think what really is attractive to me in the NFT space is also the whole utility behind an NFT. The whole utility you can put behind an NFT, and that NFTs can be used for social good. And I think that's really amazing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the tricky bit is how you bridge NFTs to your film, how we can bridge and close that gap. Because I mean, I heard like loads of interesting stories about people using NFTs to get investment to create film. I know that you're doing a charity auction as well, where you're using NFTs to fund more women to go into film as well. That sounds really amazing.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's kind of bringing both things together, because of course it's kind of also educating and onboarding female filmmakers into the crypto space, and also enabling them to make their own films and tell their stories. So I initiated or founded an online film academy for Spanish-speaking filmmakers. And the idea behind Just Love Film Academy, that's how it's called, is to empower women. So I have a course on mindset and sales and negotiation and networking and pitching, because I think that's really important also in an industry that's very, masculine. It's easy to not to be heard, or also to start doubting yourself a lot. So I think that's like the first step to be able to get more stories, is that women feel empowered to tell them in the first place, and just say, hey, I'm here and I want you to listen to me because I have something to tell. So that's my foundational course, and I do I'm doing a lot of free webinars on NFTs and on pitching. So that's, you know, the idea, just to try to combine these things. And exactly, I also give away scholarships. So you can apply for a scholarship if you come from an underrepresented background, because yes, I think intersectionality is very important, because we are few women in film business, but of course when you investigate and see the numbers a bit deeper, also considering you know, skin color or gender orientation, then the numbers are even worse. So that's why I think it's important also to, yes, to have an intersectional approach when onboarding women.
Yeah, it sounds like quite an uphill battle, I think, in the film industry. I mean, I was in the theatre industry, and there's not the previous to illustration and NFTs, just before the pandemic hit, and it is a little bit like, you know, trying to get diverse people on board, trying to get more women on board in very like male heavy aspects of theatre is a little bit of an uphill battle. So my next question, which I've been really curious about, because I know that you're a mum, you're in film, you're also doing NFTs, like that is a lot. And my experience with chatting to people in the NFT space has been that like NFTs is like, it is quite an overwhelming experience, and it's, you know, it is quite like, you know, time consuming. It's really like, it is really it's sort of like you have to like jump in the deep end. And I just wonder, like, how do you manage all of this? If you have all of the charity aspect of your work, you're also a filmmaker, you're a mom, and then you're also in NFTs. Like, how do you juggle life and NFT?
Yes. Well, I have to be very consistent and organized and discipline myself in order to manage all these things. So I have, you know, my action plan, my whiteboard with it's just over here. So, you know, I have, you know,
I love it.
my film school, my NFTs, and just not to get lost in the jungle. Yes, so I try to divide my day into mornings working on NFTs and crypto and my academy, and the afternoons focus on my films and my filmmaking. The evenings are for my daughters, but often when they fall asleep, then I have that space for them when they come home from school, and I try, you know, to focus on them, at least to give them a bit of quality time. And exactly, and then often when they fall asleep, I keep on working afterwards. At least this week it has been like that. Sometimes I'm also too tired and just fall asleep with them. Then I wake up early. Yeah, so I have to also try to find yes, this type of organizing myself. Otherwise, you're right, it's a lot of things going on. But I think in the end, you know, everything seems to be coming together, you know, especially learning more about NFTs and the NFT space. I think many people like start with NFTs and then have a business idea, and then, you know, something evolves from that. And I think for me, it's a bit the other way around, because I have, you know, I have my business idea, I have my film academy, I have my films, and then I'm just, you know, trying to to incorporate NFTs into this world I'm already working.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And I try not to work on weekends. It's hard, but I really try not to.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I find that the NFTs, the community aspect of NFTs has been really incredible, and you know, there are so many lovely people who are, you know, invested in your art, willing to uplift you. And then when I started a Discord for Power of Women, you know, it was like that direct access to your community, and actually, you know, you can spend forever just on Discord chatting to yeah, it is really addictive. And you do, you know, if you invest in the community will invest in your artwork, which I love about NFTs. But you do, I mean, you do have to set some boundaries, and I think and I, you know, and I think you have like the fear of missing out if you, you know, if you don't invest so much time into it. And I think it's just yeah, it's great to set your own boundaries and to say, okay, we'll grow at the speed that I want it to grow. You know, my NFTs are going to be, you know, it's going to be released, you know, it's going to drop then, I don't worry. And you just, I guess, just do what you can and invest in your community as much as you can. But yeah, I think it is a little bit of because it is 24/7, isn't it? It's like everyone around the world always going, well, I want, you know, I want to invest in this project, I like this artist, you know. So yeah, I totally get you. But I huge respect to you to also juggle your own business and being a mom, and also all the activism that you do with your, you know, with your business. I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm trying to make a difference. I don't know, I think that, you know, I don't know, I always had the sense that if I'm on this planet, then I have to leave it a bit better than I've encountered it. So I'm trying to do something.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question because you said you came from theater. So are you a self-taught artist or did you study art?
Well, so when I was growing up, my parents gave me loads of different art classes, and that sort of set a foundation of me to start theatre. Because in theatre I was a set, costume, video designer, and a lot of it involves a lot of drawing, but you know, interestingly, that's never actually seen by the audience. The audience sees the physical stuff, and you know, I always think, oh, it's such a shame that no one's really, you know, no one gets to see your process, all the different drawings that get you to the final piece. And then when the pandemic hit, you know, me and all of my theatre friends literally lost work overnight. And you know, and we were just here just trying to, like, you know, keep ourselves sane. And a lot of us, you know, who are creative, we just, you know, the one thing that, you know, for a lot of my friends, the one thing that they're good at, you know, whether that's acting or set design, they couldn't do. So, you know, for me to keep sane, I was just drawing and drawing and drawing every day during lockdown and the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suddenly started drawing women, and I was like, oh, this is good. and then I was like, well, actually, I actually enjoy this more than I enjoy theatre, because with the theatre side of things, you know, I don't know whether it's the same where you are, but in theatre in the UK, it is underfunded, and a lot of people who work in the industry are underpaid. Women are underpaid more than men. I'm sure you understand. And I just thought, you know, well, I had a couple of tricky jobs just before the pandemic, and I just thought, this is not, you know, this is not what I want for my life. And actually, if illustration makes me happier, then why not do this? So I was illustrating, and then and it's just so happens when I changed jobs, my partner also changed jobs. So he decided to go from entertainment business into firefighting.
Wow, that's a
and
big change.
yeah, it's a big change. And so I didn't realize this, but apparently his firefighters love their crypto. And they do
Wow.
quite a lot of crypto on the side. So they're the ones that said to Jack, do you know about NFTs? You should get Leah on NFTs. And I was just like, what's NFTs? No, what? And Jack was just like, oh, we should do it. We should try it. And I said to him, okay, here's some artwork that I made in lockdown. You can do whatever you like to them, sell them as NFTs, and we'll see what happens. And then, yeah, we put it on there, a week of sort of hyping it up, and then it sold in 3 hours. And we were like, oh my God, what is this? And we didn't and even then we didn't really know what NFTs were, and, the sort of, the all the great things that come with NFTs, which is, the social impact and the, and when I came in and, when my artwork is considered diverse, because basically when I started drawing, George Floyd's murder in the US happened, and the ripple effect into the UK and the discussions that were happening were just, I was like, it's so needed, these discussions. And I think a lot of, me being half Asian, half Malay, I have a lot of friends who are Malay, I have friends who are Black, and we, and even then, we're saying, well, do we have unconscious biasness? So whenever I drew my artwork, it was always with the idea of, am I being as equal as I can? And that's the only thing that I wanted to do. But then in the NFT space, just having a diverse group of, illustrations was almost like, yes, this is an empowerment for diversity, a bit like like my artwork felt like it was bigger than what I intended to do. Like I only intended to be as equal as I can, but in the NFT space, it became like such a big message of, we are going to be as inclusive, as diverse as we possibly can, and anything else is just not good enough. And like, that was what I loved about it. And, there's certain times when I do my artwork and I feel like the movement is bigger than me and bigger than what I intended. All I intended to do was be as fair as possible in my representation of people, of women, all over the world. But in the NFT space, where it's dominated by white males, just drawing an equal, hopefully an inclusive group of women is already such a huge message, because it's going, actually, we need more women in the space. We need more diversity in the space. We need inclusion in the space. And, like the same as you, we need the female gaze, we need the queer gaze, we need, it's not good enough, like that we just have male dominated PFP projects, that's not good enough. That doesn't represent art. So yeah, I think it's great, because I never thought that my art could be this impactful, but it's really great that people, have finally, will say, I'll get comments like, I see my daughters in this piece, and it's not a piece of a white woman. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's so great, because we don't see that enough in like advertising, in just generally. So I think that's really awesome,
Lovely.
And I'm actually blown away by how many men as well buy the artwork and buy into the message behind it as well, because it's like, it's not just, because this shouldn't be art for women. This should be art for men who want to support their wives, want to support their daughters, want to support their female colleagues, female friends. Yeah, so hopefully there's a sort of like happy message behind the artwork.
Yeah, sure. Amazing. I love your story.
Yeah,
really interesting.
But I find it so funny that this, it is like, it is power. I've called my artwork and this movement Power of Women, and I find it so funny that it originated because 5 burly male firefighters said, oh, Leah should put out her female artwork out into the space. I think that's amazing.
So when did you start?
In probably similar time to you, actually. So September last year. So it's been like a crazy, what is it now? Like
January.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 or 5 months, but it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I think there's just the community aspect of it I just can't get over. Like how many people are just really kind, who want to just be invested in you as a person and invested in you as an artist. I think that you don't get that in the real world. I think in the real art world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It's also, I don't know if it's because something new, and everybody's exploring and just, I don't know, learning and uplifting each other. I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But and also I think I was listening to Randy Zuckerberg on a Twitter space once, and she was saying, like, when she was in tech, and she was, there was only very few women. It was like, it was so competitive. It was like women eat women for just to get into that one spot, and interestingly, you come into this space, actually, if one woman wins, all women win. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's important that we help each other succeed, because if someone else succeeds, then we all succeed, because we're all trying to break that. I think it was that horrific statistic of like 96% of, is it crypto or NFT is white male. And I think, we need to carve our space, carve our...
Yes, well, I think it's just, reflection of our real world is copied onto crypto and web, because who is financially literate, who
Yes.
have money and power, and people who invest in stocks or whatever, they will be probably more willing to look into investing in cryptocurrencies, and it might be a bit overwhelming at first. I remember when I first started DeFi, it was because of my brother. He's been, he has Bitcoin for I don't know how many years now. He definitely is like a very early adopter, and I didn't even know. And then one day he tells me, "Oh God, I think I'm rich now because suddenly Bitcoin like flew to the moon." And I was like, "I didn't even know you had that. What is that?" And so that's how we started. And now my husband is a super pro DeFier and spends hours investigating and learning. And well, we're lucky enough to both be freelancers, so he also has the time and the freedom to do that. And yes, and so that's how I started to get more into NFTs. And I think maybe also because I'm a filmmaker, I'm an artist. Or as a filmmaker, I consider myself an artist. I was more inclined to the NFT world. Like my husband, he doesn't really care. Like NFTs, you do that. I'm not interested. I don't get it. Like, and I'm like, the community and blah blah. And he's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, which is quite funny. I mean, everybody is how he or she is, but I think like the community aspect, the what you can build around NFTs, I think that's really interesting and amazing, and I think that's what people are finding so attractive right now. And I think it's also the way around, how to, I mean, I came from DeFi to NFTs, but usually you'll do it the other way around, I think, right? Because it's much easier to grasp, like, okay, I'm going to buy some nice art, or I'm going to support this cause, or, and then you're actually doing crypto, but maybe you don't even know that you're doing crypto, if you know what I mean.
So what film projects do you have on at the moment?
Yes, that's a good question. So I'm releasing my second feature film this year. I've been working in the film industry for more than 8 years now. And yes, so I've worked on about 12 projects as a producer, and in different types of roles, but mainly in production and also directing. So I've directed, this is fifth, my fifth, let's say, audiovisual piece as a director, and my second feature film as a director, because I did a series and short films as well. And my first feature is about migration, and I think I mentioned on your Discord, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's about, well, I lived in Berlin for quite some time. I studied film there. And Berlin is a super multicultural place. I don't know, you live in London, or where do you live?
Yeah, I do live in London.
So yeah, London must be like super, super multicultural.
Yeah.
Berlin is, I think, different, but also very multicultural. So you have like people literally from 150 different countries. But that also brings a lot of conflicts, and yeah, Berlin is kind of an oasis in Germany, but still there were always, I don't know, when I lived there, like the subject was always a very controversial subject, because there are many far-right people still, and so sometimes it was like, oh, but these people live here, so they have to speak German, and they have to know our culture, and stuff like that. So I was very focused on exploring migration, and I did a film about 3 binational couples, focusing on how love can help us overcome our cultural differences. Like, okay, there are all these conflicts in society, but there seem to be people who don't care about their differences, and that's when they love each other, right? That's how they manage to bridge these differences. How do they do it? And so I followed 3 couples for a while, and then I kept on asking myself and reflecting about migration. And I was really interested in looking at elderly people and what happens when you have migrated and you reach a certain age. If you then ask yourself, okay, do I go back now where I was born, or is this my home now, or where is home? What is home? And I interviewed several people, my mother as well. My mother is a Colombian citizen. She has lived in many different countries, and now she lives in Portugal, where she's been living there for 30 years now. And I wanted to know from her, because she always told me, like, I want to go back. I want to go back to Colombia. I want to go back to Colombia. So are you going back now, or like, when are you going back, or aren't you going back, and it's just something you're saying? And then by comparing the footage I had, like with the other people I was interviewing, and with her, of course, my relationship on camera also with my mother was so much more intimate and so different, that I decided to focus just on her as a character. So the film is a character study about my mother, and a mother-daughter reflection about migration. And it's on VOD out there, Home, the Country of Illusion.
Cool.
I think you can also find it in the UK. And so after that, I did a short film about inclusion. And now I've been working on this feature film for many years. So this is the 7th year I'm working on. I'm Chris from Tierra Bomba, that's how the film is called. And the film is about Christian, a young Afro-Colombian, let's say, queer person who comes from a Caribbean island in Colombia that is, yes, a very underrepresented community that, you know, struggles each day. And he has a dream of becoming an actor, and he manages to get into acting school. And then he starts realizing that he is acting the whole time, like for himself, for society.
Oh, wow.
And disappears and says, I need to go someplace else because this is not me. I don't want to act anymore. And then he moves to Austria, in Europe, and there he can live his sexuality freely. And I follow him during this whole journey of his self-discovery. So that's I'm Chris from Tierra Bomba, and the interesting thing is that I'll be doing NFTs for the film because I want to support organizations that work with LGBTIQ communities. So we'll be doing an auction and an NFT sale a few weeks before the film releases. So there will be movie ticket NFTs that give you access to the film and to talking to me about the whole process, and to Christian, and there'll be NFTs like specifically to support LGBTQ community. So I'm in the process of onboarding these organizations so we can, directly have a percentage of the sales go to their wallets. So that's what I'm working on.
That's amazing. That's great. I love that.
Yes, I'm really excited because I'll be partnering with Mogul Productions. That's an NFT platform for films. So I told them about the film last year and that I wanted to do this, and it was like they immediately said yes, and I was like, wow, amazing. You know, usually in the film industry, the films I do that talk about, migrants and underrepresented communities, it's usually really, a hard sell. And so it was for me like super exciting just to see that they were interested and wanted to support. And yeah, so I'm really happy about that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I guess that's what's amazing about NFT, isn't it? It's about celebrating, inclusivity, diversity, and about shining a light on underrepresented communities. I think that's awesome. That's really great.
Yeah, I'm excited. And what about you? You have your motherhood drop coming soon. When is that?
Yes, yeah, no, hopefully in February. But it's been really amazing. I mean, I've been thinking about this next collection, about what it looks like. I mean, the first drop that I did, where I wasn't expecting anything, was 50 NFTs of what we call the League of Extraordinary Women, and it was just a diverse group of women. And I was thinking, well, I don't want to do that again. I want to do something, because NFTs is so much about community. I was trying to think about how is this next big collection going to look like. And the idea was that, we'll do it in multiple drops so that I have time to draw them out. But I was like, well, why don't we get the family, the community in the NFT space to tell me what it means to be a woman? That would be really awesome. And what it means to be a woman in the NFT space in Web3, that would be really great. And then we decided, oh, okay, well, if we're going to do it in multiple drops, we'll have multiple themes. And to be honest, I was a little bit, the first drop was the founding angels, and that was great to launch, the idea of this and instigate the communication with people who are supporting power of women, but also trying to engage just women in general. I was a bit worried about motherhood because personally, I'm not a mother. And as a non-parent, I didn't want to represent something that wasn't real. So I was a bit anxious. I was like, oh, you know, are people going to like tell me what it's like to be a mom? Like, I hope like I can engage in some conversation so that when I do drop, you know, the artwork, it's authentic to women, to mothers. But like, honestly, the responses have been phenomenal. And I've just been blown away by the number of responses, but also how open women have been about their experiences, the really high highs and like the really low lows, you know, and just, you know, I think as a non-parent, you have an understanding of you have this idea of what motherhood is, and it's quite wholesome. And when you see your friends who have kids, you know, you always chat about the good stuff. And because I guess, you know, as a non-parent, you just don't understand to that level what, you know, the difficulties and the struggles, you know, and it's been amazing to hear stories about, you know, about the struggles, the emotional struggle, the struggle of isolation, the idea of feeling like you lose your identity as a woman to motherhood. You know, it's been great to just hear all these different stories, and then to look back at my relationship with my mum and go, you know, gosh, sort of when I heard those stories the first time while I was growing up, you know, about her struggles giving birth to me and her experiences with postnatal depression, you know, I think I took it at face value a little bit. And then after hearing all the different stories about the sleepless nights, the depression, the, you know, the hormonal changes, the body changes, you know, finding their identity, you know, years after actually giving birth. And, you know,
Totally.
and I just, yeah. And I then, you know, look back at what my mother's experienced and I go, actually, oh, wow, that is remarkable, actually, you know, and, you know, and so difficult. And, you know, so it has been, yeah, it's been such an incredible process, because I feel like I've got a better understanding of being a woman. And it's just like, it's funny because I've been a woman this whole time. So I'm just hoping that actually, as you know, the community around Power of Women is building, and I'm hoping that as the drops happen, you know, that we have a better understanding. I have a better understanding of, you know, the whole scope of womanhood, you know, from like cultural identity to like, you know, women trailblazers, the first woman in an industry where they're feeling like they're all alone, trying to carve their space within an industry, what that feels like. You know, hopefully I get an idea of what it feels like to, you know, and I don't know what these future drops are going to look like. So I'm hoping that the community will come and help me tell me all these different stories, and hopefully I can hone them into artworks that is more than just something pretty. But it is, you know, if someone wants to buy it because it's pretty, then that's great. But if someone wants to buy it because it has a deeper connection to them or someone that they love, I think that would be very awesome too. But I'm just so grateful that it's instigated this conversation. I think there's been a couple of messages that have come to me, you know, going, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you've created this platform for mothers to have this conversation, because it is very isolating. And sometimes, and because a lot of mothers have never done it before, they think that what they're going through is normal, when actually maybe it isn't normal, or, you know, so it's been really, really great. Get the army of mothers into Web3 and into the NFT space. I'm just loving it. And hopefully we can do a Twitter space where we can, you know, there is just another opportunity, I think, for mothers to connect with other mothers, for mothers to share their experiences, and I think for people in general to understand what, you know, the truth, the realities of what motherhood is, because I think men, and I think women as well, just don't know until they go through it, you know.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, it's also, it's such an individual experience as well, because now I have the opportunity to compare being a parent in two different places. So my daughters were born in Colombia, where we had quite, more helping hands around. So my husband's parents, and also, well, we had help we had somebody also helping out with household. And then we moved to Barcelona when the girls were still really small. So my small daughter was 6 months old. I was still breastfeeding, and my elder daughter was 2.5. And then suddenly, like, I didn't have friends, I didn't have family, I didn't have anybody helping me around but my husband. And then suddenly you start thinking about, all these moms who are single parents. That's like another big issue as well. So fortunately, I have, my partner, who is like really, really, yeah. I mean, we really try to do 50-50. Otherwise, it's not possible. But exactly, when I came here after a while, and then of course also because of the pandemic and having the girls at home the whole time and trying to work from home at the same time, it was like, I don't know, I really went through an emotional roller coaster, because I thought, okay, I think we have to go back, because I just can't do it. It's too much, I can't. I'm going to go crazy. And I also don't want to be, just a mom. I want to work as well. So, and that, I think, is such a big challenge still in general in our society, because it's a patriarchal society that hasn't taught, that caregivers can be many people. It doesn't have to be the mother always. It can be even, a very good friend. It can be somebody you pay for because you need time.
Yeah.
You need somebody to help out. It can be your husband. It can be the grandmother. It can be, it can be a caregiver. It doesn't necessarily have to be the mother. And yes, but I think like such big responsibility just thrown upon us. And then we're expected, to be these modern women who are successful and who work and who earn money and who bring half of, the wage, the salary, half of the household budget. And I don't know, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Under these circumstances. And I think that this fact of, I think my generation especially, born in the 80s, that are professional women who have studied, went to university, but still have this kind of sense. I mean, my mother stopped working to care for us, and she discovered herself really late, actually, when my father passed away. And then she kind of, she had to go out and find work, and that really empowered her. But I also I don't know, I also think that on the other hand, if there are women who choose to stay at home, then that's also a huge stigma, because you're supposed to be modern and you're supposed to go out and work. And if you don't, you're like, oh, what are you? You're like an anti-feminist or anti-empowerment. So I think there's a lot of work to do around motherhood still. A lot, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, being freelance in the UK, you don't get you know, you don't really get maternity leave. You know, it's just unpaid. There is no support anywhere. It's like you have to find that support yourself. But then maternity leave in the UK is also not great, better than the US. But, you know, also, you know, the thing that I think is really important, which, you know, is that paternity leave is not that much. And really, you know, men should have time away from their work so that they can support the child, so that mum can do what she wants to do, whether it's, you know, finding time for herself or getting back into the workplace if that's what she wants to do. Like it's not equal. And really, if we are a 50-50 society, surely maternity leave and paternity leave should be a little bit more equal. Because I think, yeah, I mean, I was reading a book called Invisible Women, the gender data gap, and it basically still now women do a majority of the unpaid housework, caregiving, and if there's sickly relatives, it's the woman who generally takes care of them and does all the extra work. So it is, you know, really that doesn't help when, you know, mum wants to go back to work. And mum wants to have her own life and be independent and find herself again after such a huge change. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of conversation. I'm hoping that the conversations that are being had actually are also being listened to by men, and because I think that is the biggest thing. It's just not, you know, it's about the whole society realizing how unequal it is, even in developed countries, I think.
Yeah, totally. I was gender rights commissioner in Germany for an organization. Before I fully, you know, hopped into the film industry, I worked as a video producer, video creator for an international organization that does international cooperation and democracy development. And I worked as a gender rights commissioner, and it was in Germany, you know. So, and I always thought like, wow, yeah, Germany is like, you know, Central Europe and the Nordic countries. They're like, you know, they show us the way. And then when I worked there as a gender rights commissioner, I realized that it was absolutely not at all like that. You know, there was still so much work to do. And of course, that was 2009 to 2011. So almost, more than 10 years ago. And I think things are starting to change. Also, I feel that the next generation are women who already think differently, you know, and who just won't accept certain things. And I think that's amazing, you know, because I can really sense change. I mean, it's slow, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%.
Let me check our questions. I have no idea if we have even answered them. Let's see, what is your art about? Well, I think that we have talked about. Plans for your next creations, you've talked about that. Oh, are you a collector as well?
Not well, we've Power of Women have been gifted a piece of artwork, but I haven't yet collected anything. I think I'm still I'm hoping that after this next drop we'll have enough ETH to potentially collect. But yeah, I'm keeping my eyes out for really good female artists and creatives. I love Sarana, who I think on Twitter calls herself Aslan Ruby. She's like, her artwork is just insane. Amazing. Yeah. And someone who has uplifted us quite a lot is Gina, who's called GD Anderson, and she's starting a PFP project all about you know, or with activism being the central core to the PFP project. So that also sounds really, really interesting. But yeah, I'm still sort of keeping my eyes out. But yeah, have you collected any NFTs?
Yeah, I have. I collected Women Rise NFTs
Which
that were
just sold out.
Yeah, I had them listed. I had no idea that this was going to happen like from one day to another, because Malia, the artist, tweeted today is what? Yeah, yesterday. No, when was it? Like on Wednesday evening, like, wow, we're almost reaching 4,000 minted from the 10,000, right? And then I'm like, oh, nice, it's growing. And then I woke up and they were like,
sold out.
minted. And then I was like, wow, this went like super fast. What happened? And then I started entering the Discord just to, you know, and then I made me my morning coffee. And then I entered the Discord again and it was like, sold out, sold out, sold out. Suddenly everything went crazy. Alpha Girls Club sold out.
Yeah.
Julie Pacino, my film director colleague who was funding a film with her photography, sold out.
Wow.
Encrypta's floor, which was like 0.02 ETH or something like that, went up to 0.2 ETH. It was like, yesterday was absolutely crazy for all female projects, and I have no idea why. Like, did Gary Vee say go and buy women's projects, or I think
it has. Yeah, I think it has something to do with Gary Vee. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I was looking at his Twitter and I think he was minting quite a lot of World of Women. But I don't know. It's insane. It is insane. I mean, great. Love how the momentum of women in NFTs are growing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the Discords then change from one moment to another because, of course, there are many flippers, as you call them, you know, like come in, make some money, get out. And, but anyway, I mean, it's fair enough to want to make money. I mean, it's okay for me.
Well, I mean,
because
in
you're contributing somehow anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, in the real world art world, you know, there are a lot of people who invest art just because for monetary gain, but that doesn't take away from the artwork or from the message. And I think, you know, if it supports more social impact, you know, whatever your motivations are, then fine, you know, as long as we can keep doing our artwork with a message, that's great.
Yeah, totally agree. So yeah, so I had my Women Rise that were snatched from me. I will hope to buy back at least one. And I got an Alpha Girl and also a Soul Sister. And then I also have an NFT that's also a female profile picture of a film project, which was actually my first NFT. So my first NFT was a film related project. So they're selling their NFTs to fund a film. And yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing projects, and I hope to have a lot of money and be able to support everyone.
Yes, that's the dream, right?
That's the dream. But for now, those are the projects I'm in as a collector. And well, I'm really excited also to be able to support female artists with the project we are working on together as well. The Female Filmmakers, Female Gaze project, because that's also a way, I think, of, you know, yes, of supporting, you know, supporting artists, of making artists visible. So I'm really, really excited about that project, where so many female artists from all around the world are going to come together from Nigeria to Mexico to Australia. So it's really amazing, and I'm really excited about that project specifically. And the next question is, in addition to We Love NFT community, which communities do you spend time with or contribute to?
Well, I think you've certainly already answered that. I think because you were talking about all the projects that you've
yes, exactly. Women Rise. And well, I also spent some time in Flower Girls because they support kids NFTs, and I think that's really interesting as well, and I love that work. Where am I in as well? Where there's some Solana projects I find really interesting. So I hop into the Coral Tribe, because their project is to save corals and the ocean. So it's like an ecological project, and I think that's quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely mostly female related projects, but everything that has to do with film, of course, I'm interested in, and environment. I'm also very interested in those projects. What about you?
Yeah, very, very similar to yours. I think I'm in a few Discords with female-led projects. I've been doing a little bit of work with Fame Lady Squad, so I've been on their Discord a little bit. I've newly went into Meta Angels, which is by Sarana, by Aslan Ruby. So that's pretty awesome. So just dipping in, but I think, like, for me, I mean, Discord for me has been great for power of women and our community, but I prefer sort of like exploring and uplifting and interacting with people sort of on Twitter, because I think it's so great to publicly support and to share and to just chat and to loads of different artists that I interact with, like Marlene, which is I think Studio Arida, her stuff, her projects. Box Palette has been really cool to interact with. So I quite like to interact with, like, artists themselves rather than like PFP projects, because I think there's a time and place for PFP projects, especially on Discord, but on Twitter it's really nice to get to know artists themselves, and what they're doing and what projects they're on, what collections they're curating. So I think that's really cool. That's really awesome, because then you get other people who go, yeah, I agree, I like this artwork and that artwork. So I think that's really great. Cool. What would you like for our We Love NFT community? Well, I think this has been great, actually. This has been quite a surprise and quite nice to connect with you, like, face to face, because obviously we've been tweeting each other and on Discord as well, but it's been really great to actually meet you in the flesh.
Yes, totally. It's it makes things much more personal, of course, and I think it's a wonderful idea. And I don't even know how I stumbled upon We Love NFT, because of Twitter, of course. Yeah. I think somebody retweeted something, and because I follow female-led projects or female artists, and somehow it was in my feed, and I just hopped onto and thought, oh, this is really amazing, I like this. And yeah, so I think this is a great idea for them to keep up this work of really getting to know the community, who are the artists behind the Twitter handles.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's always nice when you meet someone on Zoom or on Teams after you've interacted them with so much on Twitter that you're like, oh, I'm actually quite good friends, I think, on Twitter, and then suddenly you see them in person, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, great.
Yes, amazing. So I don't know, you want to add anything else?
Probably not. I think we've covered everything actually, haven't we? I think we've chatted. I feel like I know so much about your NFTs and your film career and juggling motherhood as well. I think that's really awesome. I mean, I would say the only thing that I feel like the only thing I wish for the NFT space, I think, is a little bit more of like, I think what a lot of people have said, were asking generally across the board is like, I wish that there was a manual or like something really simple to just access so that you don't get scammed when you buy into these big projects. You know what it means, you know what a wallet is and how to buy NFTs. I feel like, I don't know about you, but jumping into this space, you've got to learn yourself by just doing it, and that can be a little bit dangerous. And then on top of that, if you want to educate your kids into NFT, it's not really a safe space, Web3 at the moment for children, I don't think. When you think about what sort of platforms, educational platforms there are for kids, I just feel like there's not enough of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I have a question. I would like to know how you draw and what you use to draw.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'd love to see how you do it.
Oh my gosh. So in the ideal world, I would reply to you, oh, I've got a really nice iPad with an Apple Pen and I draw and Procreate. No, okay. So I went into the obviously I wasn't making a lot of money during the pandemic, as a creative. I think it was a bit of a struggle. And I picked up my tablet that I got in school. So it is like, it's more than 10 years old. I think it's like almost, oh God, I think it's almost like 15 years old. But it is like the oldest thing you could ever have to draw. And because I during my theatre work, and even now I do a bit of graphic design work, so I have the whole Adobe package. There I do have Photoshop, and Photoshop has been like my go-to, my go-to. So I think, once hopefully when I generate more income through NFTs, maybe I can buy myself an iPad and I can draw and travel and draw and be the very creative artist that you see on Instagram that you just want to be.
It's silly. Give yourself a new iPad.
Yeah.
Totally. And myself a new camera.
Yes. Well, why not, right? NFTs are there for financial freedom. Yeah. Future plan.
So that means that you don't draw on paper, you draw directly on digital.
Yeah, directly on digital. But I think it's my tablet is quite responsive, so that's been good. So on top of doing NFTs, I part-time do art clubs and art parties for kids. So I have done art tuition for them. So trying to get back to drawing in real life has been also quite nice, just to sort of realize like where it all came from, where it started. Because I think it's so important to start on paper and then get yourself into the digital flow. But yeah, no, total digital all the way for me.
Nice, amazing. Yeah, my dream was always to be able to film on film, literally. Yeah. But I was born in a digital world, so when I learned filmmaking, everything was already digital. Well, the closest I came to were mini DVs, which were these little small cassettes you would record on. So that was the technology when I was at university, but then things like,
yeah,
moved so quickly.
Yeah.
And then it was like full HD, 2K, 4K, 8K.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably the next thing will be VR, or I don't know. Let's see what happens in the metaverse.
Yeah, virtual everything. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been really awesome to connect with you and to know a little bit more
Thank you
about
so
your
much.
journey. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for your time. I don't know, do you want to stop recording and then
Yeah.
maybe we can
Yeah, I'll stop it now.